Hey guys, Will here, you're watching Boost Autos and welcome to part 2 of our video series on Android head units and are they worth your money. Now, if you haven't watched part 1 in the video series, I suggest you do that before you watch this one. Part 1 is linked above my head right now and it goes through all the details of all the inputs and outputs, what you can do, how to set up the operating system, all the features of the operating system itself, what all the apps are, the suggested apps that I think you should install to get the most out of the unit. So if you're interested in all of the features, check out part 1. So the focus of this video is going to be recapping a couple of the observations that I had on the original Quadcore C500 and whether they've been improved upon on the updated C500 Octacore version. So we're going to be doing a comparison between the two units in terms of their physical appearance and how they operate, as well as a benchmark test between the two to see whether it really is that much faster having an octa-core processor. Octa-core, quad-core, they're kind of a bit of a buzzword in the industry. People like to say, you know, quad-core this, octa-core that. We want to know whether it actually makes a difference in the greater scheme of things. Is there actually a discernible difference between the speed of one versus the other? And that's what we're going to find out in this video. Now, the other thing we need to mention as well is that the other things that they've updated is also the RAM. So this is a 32GB onboard RAM now as opposed to the 16 gig that was on this one. So twice the amount of RAM. The onboard storage quantity is the same. So it's 2GB of onboard storage for all of your apps. That's the same on both, but otherwise they're both running exactly the same operating system, which is Android 6. If you have a look inside the menus, they're actually running the same build and the same kernel as each other. So it's exactly the same software on each of them, just a slight different appearance in terms of their physical build, how you operate from the front panel, and of course the quad-core versus the octa-core and the gigabyte difference as well. So anyway, without further ado, let's take a closer look at the two units and the differences between the two of them. So we'll start off with the physical appearance of the two units. So the octa-core version, the updated C500, has a brand new front panel with a much cleaner design. So they're all non-tactile touch buttons in this case. So it's a flat panel across the entire front surface. Same size screen, but a much cleaner interface. You'll also notice that it doesn't have a thick bezel which overlaps the top of the screen, whereas the older unit did. Now, one of the things that I mentioned in the first video and has actually been a problem in the last couple of months that I've been using it is, if you've got the screen mounted down low in your car and you're sitting quite high above it, you can't actually see the buttons along the top of the screen. Because of the way Android works, you've got your home button, your back button, and your apps menu button all along the top there, and you can't actually see them to press them properly with this bezel across the front. So that was one of the annoyances with the original unit, and as you can see with the new unit, that is no longer an issue at all. Tactile buttons on the old unit, so buttons that actually press down and operate, and a spinning knob as well. Now that knob is quite flimsy, so I was always a little bit concerned that I might bump it and snap it off. It's, you know, it's not really cheap, but it is, you know, it's a little bit on the plasticky side, so I much prefer the cleaner look and feel of the newer model, and obviously there's less things to go wrong as well without physical buttons that can break. So really it's a matter of personal preference, but I much prefer the look of the newer model. Now, perhaps the most frustrating thing about Android head units in general is the amount of time that they can take to boot up when you first start the car. So let's start them both up at the same time now, see the difference between the two. Now, obviously you don't want to be sitting around waiting for your car stereo to boot up, so you want to get going straight away. And another important thing to mention as well is that the C500 quad-core version, you have to wait for the unit to completely boot up before the reversing camera will work. So if you're relying on your reversing camera, which you really shouldn't do anyway, but if you do like to use that reversing camera, you know, before you move at all, you'll need to wait for the unit to boot up, whereas this one, it works straight away. So you can see this unit's already completely booted up and it's loaded the default radio app. We'll go back to the main menu. You can see the original quad-core version is still booting up there. So we're up to almost double the amount of time now. The reason for the different boot logo there is that I've routed this system to be able to change a bunch of the core functionality. So everything's running as it is default now, but if you want to know more about that, look at part 1 of the video series. So you can see now they're both booted up. They both look exactly the same as each other. If we go into apps, we can see the menu system looks exactly the same. And if we go across to our settings, exactly the same as each other. This one has turbo download, which allows you to use Wi-Fi and 4G to download apps a little bit faster. This one doesn't have that, but everything else is exactly the same. We go down to About Vehicle Platform and we can see there exactly the same build numbers, same baseband versions, slightly different kernel versions in terms of date, but same build number and same custom build number as well. So they're basically exactly the same operating system as each other. So if you're wanting to know exactly what you can do with this one, check out that part 1 video, as I said before. But anyway, let's jump back out to some more interesting stuff. So looking at the interface itself, there's absolutely no lag on the octa-core version. There's no lag on the quad-core version either. So I mean, there's no discernible difference between the actual usability of the user interface at all. They're both exactly the same as each other. Now if we load an app, so say we'll load Spotify, see how long they take to boot. Now this is probably relying on Wi-Fi to some extent, but you could see it did boot up quite a bit faster on this unit compared to that one. So a noticeable difference there. Go to a different app that people are likely to use a lot. So say we'll go to Google Maps. Where's Google Maps on this one? So we'll go Maps, ready, and so actually loaded faster on the old one. I'm not sure what the deal was there, maybe because this one hasn't loaded before, it doesn't know where I am, so we'll go back. But I mean, no real difference there. We'll go and try the same thing on Waze as well. So yeah, so it's a little bit quicker on the new unit, but again, not massively different, not enough that it would be a concern. Now you can see I have installed a bunch of apps on both of these units already. Now there's a good reason why I've done that. I don't want to compare the two units as they come completely out of the box, because that's not the way anybody uses these things. Everybody installs their own apps. Everybody likes to customize stuff. So I don't think there's any point in reviewing them side by side straight out of the box, because that's not how you're going to use them anyway. So let's actually do a benchmark and see exactly what the difference is in terms of scores. So we'll go to Antutu benchmark and launch them. You can see there the difference in scores. So this is a previous benchmark that I've done. So 37,627 on the new one, 28,000 on the old one. So significantly better score on the new unit, as you would expect. But let's actually run the test through again, and you can see exactly how they compare. So one thing that I will mention here as we're looking at these quite detailed images is that the color depth on the original one that I received is actually quite a lot better than it is on the updated model. Now, they are exactly the same resolution screen, and I believe that they are the same panel as each other in terms of specs. So I don't know whether that's just manufacturing variances, but I noticed in particular the reds are a lot deeper on this unit than they are on this one. And there we have it. So 37,715 and 28,561. So again, same result as before, basically within a couple of points. Much better result on the octa-core than it is on the quad-core. So benchmarking wise, you know, benchmarks don't really mean much in the real world, especially on a head unit where you're not going to be playing games and stuff like that mostly. But it's good to know that the processor is doing exactly what it's designed to do, and it is a lot faster. Okay guys, so that is the comparison between the two models, and as you can see, physical differences between the two designs, but other than that, the only real difference is the slight speed increase on the new unit. Now, it's not really noticeable in day-to-day use. It's not slow enough to annoy you, I don't think, but the boot time is significantly faster. So if that's something that's important to you, then I would definitely spend the extra money to get the faster unit. So look, that is a comparison between the two. Now, the other thing that I mentioned in part 1 of the video is that I wanted to cover was sound quality as well. Now, I've been scratching my head as to the best way to sort of convey my impressions of the sound quality in a video. Obviously, letting you guys listening to a recording of the sound inside the car isn't really going to tell you much. I don't have access to things like third octave band analyzers and stuff like that to show you the differences, but what I can give you is my impressions. So I replaced the factory head unit in my Subaru Forester with this unit using the factory speaker system, which does include a subwoofer as well. And there was no discernible difference in sound quality really between the two. So this gives you a little bit more customization in terms of how you can adjust the sound over the factory unit, which was good. So I was able to achieve a slightly better sound quality in terms of what I prefer for my personal taste, but I wouldn't say that the overall actual quality of the sound was better. The distortion level wasn't any lower or any higher. It wasn't quieter or louder. It pretty much just sounded exactly the same. So driving an external system, which I did also try with some external 6x9 speakers in enclosures as well, pretty much the same. Between a factory head unit and one of these guys, there's no discernible difference between the two. So if you're concerned about sound quality, what I'll say is this: you're going to get what you pay for. It is a cheap unit. It's $350. You're not going to get the same sort of sound quality that you're going to get out of a $1,500 high-end unit, but you know, you can do things like use aftermarket DSPs and stuff like that that plug in via USB. So that is an option as well if you want to get a nice quality cheap head unit and then get a high quality aftermarket DSP to drive your speakers and amplifier and that sort of thing. So there are options available there, but look, if you're after the best possible sound quality, then obviously you're going to want to spend more money and get a higher quality unit. But that said, there's nothing wrong with the sound quality on these guys. So if you are interested in purchasing one of these units, I'll provide an affiliate link for you in the description below and at the end of the video as well. Use that for a small discount off retail, and also a small commission goes to me as well, which is a big help for the channel to keep things going. Now, on that subject, we are about to draw the 10,000 subscriber giveaway as well. So now is a great time to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. That'll be getting drawn in the next couple of weeks, it looks like, as soon as we hit 13,000 subscribers. And that puts you in the running for an awesome giveaway. So check that out. As always, do like the video if you found the video interesting and useful. Hit the subscribe button and the notification button so you don't miss the next one. We've got a bunch of interesting stuff in the pipeline to come soon. So thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.